About 18 months ago, Sonesta embarked on a transformation that would replace its 15-year-old loyalty system with a modern commercial off-the-shelf software solution. They needed a flexible and scalable system that could communicate with multiple property management systems, a very diverse network of property management systems. And they also wanted to establish their own data platform to gain a unified view of the customer. In less than a year, Sonesta, with the help of their partners HAPI and Tally, achieved these ambitious goals, and as a result, they are now able to provide their guests with a seamless loyalty experience across various touch points across the whole network. In addition to the operational wins that we're going to hear about in this next session, they of course won a Visionary Award from Hospitality Technology here earlier today. And I'm so honored to welcome to the stage the leader of Sonesta, a leader from Sonesta's technology team, Sean Wood, who is the head of enterprise architecture and technology, to come on up and join me and tell this story in more detail. Sean.
Thank you.
Welcome, welcome. Really excited to be sharing the stage and helping to bring this story to life. So tell us first, I think it's important for everyone in the room to understand a little bit, Sean, about your background. You're relatively new to the hospitality industry.
I am, yeah. So, I feel like a bit of an outsider here. I've been in the IT industry for about 25 years. I hate to say it, maybe it was even 30. But my career has traversed many industries. So my very first job, I wrote a piece of software for a company called Bankruptcy Plus for the legal industry. My second job, I wrote another product called Market Analyzer, and that was for the construction industry. And then I moved on to Boston Coach, and Boston Coach is it's like a black car executive service that's worldwide. And when I joined, and obviously transportation industry, and when I joined that company, they were, believe it or not, this is early 2000s, they were running on Pascal for DOS. That's what their system was running on. And they had, so I worked there for about 2 years as a developer, and the CIO pulled me aside and he said, we have tried to re-platform our software twice in a row, and both times we failed. First time we lost $2 million, we had to write off. Second time we lost $3 million, we had to write off. We got to do it again because these systems will not go on forever. And so he said, we'd like you to be the architect on this, for the challenge. And it was kind of like a crossroad. It's one of these things, it's going to go really, really well or really, really bad. But I was up for the challenge, and within 2 years, we put in a new system. And that was 2008. And I have friends that still work at Boston Coach, and that's still what Boston Coach is working on, what I put in 2008.
And it was that outside experience, right, to bring us to the Sonesta project that you embarked on. It was that outside experience, I think, that was really attractive to the leadership team and what you would be able to bring to a fresh lens. And I want to be able to unpack that a little bit, right, what that fresh lens was as you embarked on this project. So tell us first, what was the goal? What was Sonesta setting out to achieve? I want to help everybody in the room understand the technology infrastructure that you walked into and the level of complexity that was going on there and what the goal was.
Yeah, okay. So when I first joined the company, what I walked into. So it was pretty interesting. So little background about Sonesta. In 2020, and believe it or not, I got this statistic off of Wikipedia. Sonesta had about 80 hotels. And it was on a mission to grow. They wanted to grow very, very quickly. And so they were very flexible about bringing on other hotels and not really caring what software they were going to use. So you can continue using the PMS you're using. We just want you to be part of the family. So when I joined the company, we were about 1,100 hotels. So I joined sort of in the middle of, I think it was like May of 2022. And we had 1,100 hotels, some managed, some franchise, but we had 16 different PMSs. And so that's...
went from 80 to 1,100 properties in the span of a couple of years.
And it spanned a couple of years, So the growth worked, but the challenge was getting at our data. And, so we had our reservations were up in Sonesta, so we didn't have our own data store. And I just felt like I had to reach into all these different systems that were controlled by vendors to kind of piece together a report. And people are just used to downloading things from multiple vendors, throwing it in a spreadsheet and gathering reports. So it was kind of a challenging environment. And the other thing that was very challenging about it is our applications were tightly coupled together. So there was really no strategy around architecture. It's like the IT department was just surviving and they were just developing what they could. But we had very monolithic applications and applications were very tightly coupled, which means if you took away one application, it was like a house of cards, just everything would come crumbling down.
So what was the objective then in rolling out a new loyalty program?
Yeah, so the new loyalty program, there's really three main things we wanted to do. First, so the one we had in place, it worked well, for a while, but once we grew to 1,100, we knew we needed scalability, and we needed flexibility, and we needed software that we could configure very easily. So with that, we chose Tally. The second piece we needed, the old system, it only communicated with one PMS, which was Opera. So all of the other PMSs were completely ignored in our loyalty program because we just had no way of getting that data into the other systems. So that was the other objective was to find a way to work with multiple PMSs instead of just one. And then the last piece is we never had our own data store of our customers. So I kind of realized we're going to need a CDP that we have to get put in place with an enterprise service bus because I wanted to convert us more to a microservice architecture.
Yeah. And so now you were able to take some best practices that you had seen in other industries with a fresh lens,
Yep.
right, and apply those to the project at hand. Just kind of walk us through what some of those fundamental best practices were that you used as a guiding principle.
Yeah, it was pretty interesting. So I really identified we didn't have a data strategy. There was no architecture strategy. I wanted to get away from having a tightly coupled architecture, and I wanted to use microservices. So really what I put in place, or what I had the team put in place, is a loosely coupled architecture using microservices and hosted, of course, on the cloud in Azure. And just so everyone knows, when I was first told and I first joined the company, they said, hey, that we have this loyalty replacement. It was described to me as this is a really, really simple lift and shift. You're just going to take the old system, you're going to plop in the new one, and you'll be done in 2 or 3 months. That's what it told me.
Is that ever the truth?
Yeah, and it ended up taking a year for us to do. And what I could have done, I didn't obviously, was I could have just taken Tally, put it, and I could have tried to do a lift and shift, but I found out that the old loyalty system had 25 applications that were hard-coded to talk to this one system. So I could have just kicked the can down the road and did that, but I wouldn't be able to live with myself. So I had to sit with the executive team and come up and just told them, it's like, we really got to redo the backbone of this technology if we really want to get this company to the next level. And I wanted to get to the point where when I'm done this project, like right now we're in a situation where if we changed our mind and management said, we want to get rid of Tally, I probably could do it in 2 months because it's no longer tightly coupled with anything. It's just a few microservices I have to rewrite and then we're done.
It's fantastic to have that type of control and autonomy over the system.
So I think, so you're asking about my experience, what I brought to the table. I think it's just the architecture that I put in place was very similar to what I put in place at Boston Coach, similar to what I put in place. It was very an agnostic architecture, and what makes it industry specific are the applications that are communicating to your architecture.
So tell us a bit about the solution, right? Tell a little bit more about the technology stack that you put into place, right?
Yep.
You certainly procured and have some partners we've talked about with HAPI and Tally, and you also did some custom development work of your own with the team. Tell us a little bit about the solution stack that exists today.
Yeah, so we did an RFP on the loyalty side, and we settled on Tally, and they ended up, they're just a great partner to work with. And obviously, I think like any company, we are always going to, buy over build. The next big piece of the puzzle was that integration to the PMSs. And thankfully, we had already been working with a company called HAPI, and I sat down with them in my office, and I literally had a drawing of what I was trying to do. And I was asking them, could you guys help me with this PMS integration? Because it's just so much work, to have my own staff sit there and learn how to communicate with 16 different PMSs. And Happy said, well, this is what we do. And what really sold me when I was talking to their CEO, he said, if you think about it, every PMS has its own database, its own columns, their own data structures. We will take all of that and give it to you in one common data structure, and you can do whatever you want with the data after that. So it just made it so much easier for me that it was a no-brainer. So having Happy look after that was the best of all. And then the last piece was the CDP. And we had a lot of debate. Do we look for a CDP or do we build our own? And the reason we built our own is because I didn't know our data very well. No one in IT really knew our own data because we'd never really seen it. So I made the decision that, let's build our own CDP, because I think we all have to educate ourselves on what our data looks like. Like we just don't know anything about our customers. We've never tried to relate our stays and our reservations and our members and our non-members together. And I think if we go through that exercise on this project and we build our own CDP, we can always replace it later. But then I would feel much more comfortable doing an RFP because I'm going to know what I'm talking about because I built it myself and I understand our data.
Yeah.
And that was a tough decision that we had to, as an IT department, we really had to think about. It's like, is that a journey wanted to take? And in hindsight, it was definitely the right decision because now we're so much more comfortable with, owning our own data, owning the security of our data, and now we even have a good data strategy.
I love that perspective because that decision was probably more so a business decision to understand what you just outlined, right? To understand the type of data that you have versus it being what technologically made sense, right? And what were your technical needs?
Exactly.
That didn't weigh into it. It sounds like as much as this truly having to sit down and force yourselves to really look at the level of granularity that you were trying to find a home for and appropriately map in the process.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And it's funny, now when I walk through the hallways at Sonesta, I hear people talking about the CDP. And it's like, hey, can we get this out of the CDP? And a year and a half ago, we didn't have a CDP. So it's really,
That's cool.
It really turned out well. And now everyone is more educated on what you can get out of it,
So having gone through that process of building the CDP, there had to have been some real difficult points in the process, right? Some struggles. What would you say are your learnings from that experience?
A lot of it was, I don't know how to. So I was very surprised at the pushback I got from my own team on trying to implement something like this. So I think, the department was very used to working with the stack that we had.
Yeah.
And I was just coming in with very different ideas. And there was I had to convince people that this will work. But the good thing is I had implemented very similar technologies in other companies, so I was very confident in it. So we just did it in little pieces. And once we got going and people really started to understand, what was going on. And we were doing it on Azure. So it was funny. I used to work for AWS. I was trained in AWS, but my staff was really, really good with Azure. And I made the decision that, if I didn't want to switch over to AWS just because it makes me comfortable. You know what I mean? Because I had a staff of 40-some people. So I ended up convincing myself, okay, we'll work in Azure and we'll do it that way. So I've learned a lot just working with that.
So can you share a bit about the results now?
Yeah, so the results were, you mean like after the project, how the
Absolutely.
The
I think we'd love to hear, tell us about a little bit about the data flow, right? Because you have this fantastic closed loop environment now of the data flow.
So I'll talk about the data flow and then the results. Yeah, so So we have multiple channels on how a reservation can be created. Obviously, our website, our mobile app, it can come in through an OTA, or it can come through our call center. All reservations will end up in Sonesta, and I'm sure a lot of people in this room have heard Sabre Sonesta. And Sabre Sonesta, they have a set of APIs. They call it their data warehousing APIs. So they will in near time stream reservations as they're coming in to us. So what do we do with it? Of course, those reservations come to our enterprise service bus. We throw it into the CDP. We throw another copy in our data warehouse. And then Sabre, of course, will push those reservations to one of our 16 PMSs that we have. And then that's where HAPI comes in. And HAPI, as people are in our different PMSs and they're making changes, then HAPI will take that and they will also hand it to our enterprise service bus. And then we will push that both into our data warehouse and our CDP. Whenever a guest checks out, HAPI will hand us that checkout, and then we will, obviously we put it in CDP, but we also take that checkout and we give it to Tally. And this is all happening automatically using our enterprise service bus. Tally takes it and it will look at, it will calculate how many points the guest earned on that reservation. Once it's determined that, it'll determine, well, are they still in the same tier or did they bump up a tier? And then Tally will take that information and it will call our enterprise service bus, which will update the CDP. And then on the website, if somebody logs in, it's calling enterprise service bus, which looks in the CDP. So we have this really nice closed loop system, and we have information traveling around flawlessly and automatically. So so what did we get out of it? Well, there was a lot of operational efficiencies that came out of this. First was our month-end close was really helped, because before it was very, very manual because our data was just all over the place, but now we have a central CDP. We were able to run reports for finance, and finance is getting to the point now they can run the reports themselves. We can give it to them and they can month-end close. So that was a huge operational efficiency. Reporting is another big one. And then we have, and just the speed, like there's a lot less touch points that would happen, a lot less things that could go wrong. And it kind of changed the culture within IT, not just the loyalty system, but this new architecture. Because it's a microservice architecture, we have a lot more confidence in making changes, knowing that we're not going to hurt another application accidentally.
Yeah, I think that culture change is an interesting soft metric, right, of this project, and something to be really proud of. That's pretty exciting. Congratulations. So before we wrap up, I'd love to hear how you might conceive of using the data now, right? With all of this efficiency, what are some of the things that Sonesta is going to be able to achieve? Yeah, so we're working on a lot of big projects, but one big one. So one of the disadvantages of us building our own CDP is we don't have a front end on it. We can do reporting, but we don't have a good front end. So we are in the process of building a CRM. And so what's going to feed the CRM? It's going to be our CDP. So what it means now is our hotel staff, when a guest walks in, they can now look up a guest in the CRM, which is grabbing all this wonderful data out of the CDP. And they're going to have a 360 view of the guest at their fingertips. They're going to know, when a guest is surfing the web, what's of interest to him? What are the brands this guest normally stays at? What was his feedback the last time he stayed in this hotel? Like, what's his feedback in other hotels? So we have does he tend to use guest Wi-Fi? What are the amenities that he expects? So all of that information we're going to be putting into our CRM, and also our call center staff is going to have visibility into this. So we're hoping this should be done in sort of the March timeframe. Yeah, no, that's really exciting. Well, congratulations. Thank you very much. And thank you for sharing this incredible story with us. Thank you. Congratulations to the whole team at Sonesta. It's really quite an accomplishment. Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah.